Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking a reflective journey into how we use, protect, and genuinely invest our most finite resource, time. We'll be exploring some really profound insights on how time, our priorities, and intentional living influence the very direction of our lives. We're going to synthesize ideas on adaptation, resilience, and personal responsibility to understand exactly how we can become true architects of our own existence. Let's get into it. I want you to pause for a quick second and consider this. How often do your days feel like they're just slipping away in this blur of endless demands? You know the feeling. You wake up, you rush through a checklist of tasks, and suddenly it's evening, leaving you wondering, where did the hours actually go? Honestly, it's a universal human experience to feel as though time is just slipping right through our fingers. But what if we reframed that perspective entirely? Think about this powerful thought. Time isn't some enemy we have to constantly battle or race against. Instead, it's a guide. It actively urges us to grasp those fleeting moments and orchestrate our lives with real purpose. Okay, Section 1. The true cost of time, measuring our most precious currency. Our physical existence operates within a fixed span. Yet, we so frequently treat our days casually, don't we? We treat them as mere placeholders, just another Tuesday to get through while we're waiting for the weekend. But time is a genuinely finite resource, and the realization that our days are strictly limited, well, that often arrives much later in life than would be truly useful for us. Think about where your daily effort actually goes. A huge chunk of it likely goes toward pursuits that feel incredibly urgent in the moment, like, say, constantly clearing out your inbox, but they carry very little lasting weight. Meanwhile, the kind of deep attention required to build something truly durable, like strong relationships, meaningful work, or learning a new skill, is often given far less of our time. We routinely trade our most precious currency for fleeting urgencies. So, take a moment right now to reflect on your current trajectory. Does it reflect what genuinely matters to you? Or are you simply filling the available hours by default, letting unplanned events and external pressures completely dictate your schedule? Meaningful choices really require us to step back from our daily routines and ask ourselves this exact question. Moving to Section 2, the personal experience of time, why duration feels flexible. You've probably noticed that our internal clock rarely ticks at the same speed as the watch on our wrist. The experience of time can actually be influenced. Familiar, repetitive days tend to make time compress. It's like mindlessly scrolling through a feed. It just slips away completely unnoticed. But when we deliberately introduce variety, novelty, and our full, undivided attention into our experiences, time actually expands. A genuinely absorbing task, like throwing clay on a pottery wheel, can make time fly by in the moment, but the sheer richness of that engaged mindset makes the period feel so much more substantial in our memory afterward. It turns out, time isn't a rigid, external force operating totally outside of your influence. It's a highly malleable concept. It acts more like a companion, whose pace is shaped directly by how fully you engage with what is actually happening right in front of you. We see this most clearly when we compare the different stages of our lives. Childhood often feels marked by these long stretches of anticipation, waiting seemingly forever for a summer holiday to arrive. Adulthood, on the other hand, frequently feels like a rapid sprint, with whole seasons just passing in a blink. And it feels like a sprint not because the earth is spinning faster, but because the texture of our adult routines often lacks that fresh, engaging novelty we had in our youth. That brings us to Section 3, protecting time, guarding against the unchecked. We absolutely have to learn to tell the difference between an ordinary, reschedulable meeting and those truly irreplaceable moments that carry real weight. Time spent with people who matter, or jumping on a specific opportunity that only exists briefly, these moments cannot be recovered once they're gone. Recognizing this difference is what helps clarify exactly where firm boundaries are worth maintaining to protect our potential. Now, to practically protect this irreplaceable time, there is a highly effective habit you can adopt. When a sudden request pops up, like a pinging notification, don't chase it immediately. Step 1, simply acknowledge it. Step 2, quickly note it down in a running list. And Step 3, return your full attention right back to your present focus. This simple 3-step process keeps us from being constantly pulled in a dozen different directions and allows our attention to remain deliberate. The crucial point here is recognizing that external demands almost always begin modestly. It's just a small request here, an additional task there. But left unchecked, they expand like wildfire.
A pattern of constant accommodation just invites more of the same. So it's absolutely vital to decline unchecked demands clearly and early on, before they transform into entrenched routines that just rob you of your autonomy.
Which leads into section 4, adapting to change, navigating the unexpected. Because, let's be real, despite our very best boundaries, life still happens. Unplanned events and sudden shifts are unavoidable. When circumstances shift in an unwelcome direction, we generally only have 3 realistic options. We can simply endure the situation as it stands, we can remove ourselves from it where possible, or we can deliberately work to change it into something workable. The harsh reality here is that there is rarely some comfortable middle path that's just going to magically resolve itself without our effort. Resisting a difficult situation purely out of distress or fighting it without a clear plan almost always makes the experience harder. Think of it like exhausting yourself by swimming directly against a very strong river current. Genuine progress actually requires creating a little bit of distance between the emotional weight of a situation and the practical task of addressing it. And that river analogy builds perfectly into the concept of adaptability. Listen, adaptability doesn't mean just passively accepting whatever happens to you. It means stepping back, identifying what parts of a situation can actually be influenced, and applying sustained, focused effort right there. It's exactly this resilience, this willingness to adjust our approach, that turns what initially looks like a total defeat into a manageable, workable path forward. And finally, section 5, the power of intentional living. Crafting a deliberate life. We've arrived at the culmination of all these ideas. You can't control every single event that arrives on your doorstep, but your response to those events, that is entirely within your own hands. You possess personal responsibility over your trajectory. You are undeniably the architect. Letting time dictate every aspect of your life simply relinquishes control, but taking ownership allows you to reclaim your autonomy. A life shaped by deliberate choices looks vastly different from one shaped by default. And here is the real secret. Like a well-tended garden, meaningful progress isn't born from instantaneous luck or massive dramatic leaps. It comes from small, repeated choices tended to day after day. Those are what accumulate into the significant patterns that ultimately define our lives. Living intentionally requires a really delicate balance. On one hand, we must engage fully with the present moment, because total absorption without direction just leads to aimless drifting. Yet, we must also keep a clear direction toward the future without becoming so hyper-focused on the horizon that we miss the actual, tangible experience of living right now. Appreciating the ordinary steps along the way is what makes the entire pursuit sustainable and genuinely satisfying. This concept perfectly summarizes our core truth. Time creates the opportunity, but it's your priorities that shape the final outcomes. Both the difficult periods and the easier ones will eventually pass. When you look back, what will matter most is simply whether you directed your attention and your effort toward what genuinely counted, consistently enough to make a real difference. We've seen how adaptation supports our growth and how resilience sustains our progress. Ultimately, intentional living deeply influences the quality of our entire lives. So I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. Knowing that time is your companion and your canvas, what deliberate choice will you make with your time today? Thank you so much for exploring these powerful ideas with me. Take this insight, protect your focus, and step into the rest of your day with intention.